have a natural ultimate purpose of life that we can agree on?
We have the ability as the only animal to intentionally look at the thoughts that our physical being stores for us.
Most learnings come from weaknesses that you're not aware of. So if you're not going to be vulnerable to weaknesses, you can't learn.
This system is the sole reason that you were given the ability to have a mind.
What is my natural ultimate purpose of life? Well, it's to push my mental and physical ability to my mental and physical capability.
This system proves that our purpose, in fact, is to continually be better in life.
I have learned that if I ever present frustration with him, he gets upset.
This is something I would take into any communication. If you notice that the other person is emotional, do not add to that alarm. Hello and welcome to Mission Be Better. I'm Lisa.
And I'm Phil.
And Phil, we have an interesting and unique relationship, and we talk about it in the beginning of this podcast. We are friends. We are master and student, mentor and student. We are colleagues, workmates, as we would say in Australia, and we are family. I am the godmother of your little son. I am married to your big son. So we're father-in-law, daughter-in-law, lots of different types of relationships that we have in one relationship.
Yep, and the son that you're a godfather to can't wait to knock off the older son.
That I'm a godfather or godmother to.
The godmother, sorry, too. Can't wait to knock off the other son so that he then can be married to you.
That's true. There have been times where he said she's my girlfriend.
Yes. Just on that, I just wanted to ask, if I may. We have all of these things that we are, like friends, co-partners, co-presenters, et cetera, et cetera. But I thought it'd be interesting for people to just see where we actually started. So in 90 seconds, how about you just tell us how we actually first met and what happened?
All right. So I will 100% do that.
Thank you.
To help people with that, we are today, we are communication experts, communication coaches, relationship experts, and even self-development experts. So that's where we're at today.
And let's see where that transition started from, and then over time, where we're at now to be able to call ourselves communication, relationship, and experts in some areas of life that are very important.
I mean, I can only touch on my story. My story with you.
Way more interesting than mine.
Began 7.5 years ago, roughly, if I'm not mistaken. Let's say it started 8 years ago. Because around 8 years ago, I started manifesting. I read, books like Law of Attraction. Many girls might know these books, Law of Attraction, how to manifest, how to, speak things for people who don't know those terms, speak things into existence. And I loved it. I was obsessed with that stuff. And I was manifesting, I was really thinking about, I need to find a mentor in my life. I wanted to be better. The typical paths of therapy and stuff haven't helped so far, or haven't helped long-lastingly, and I knew there was a lot better for me. So I manifested, and I was like, I'm going to move to the Gold Coast in Australia. Originally, I'm from Germany. I'm going to move to the Gold Coast, Australia, where I had been before, and I am going to find a mentor. I'm going to find someone who knows so much about life, and they're willing to help me, and I'm going to then become the better version of myself. For some reason, that's the idea that I had in my mind. Moved to the Gold Coast, didn't happen straight away. And then shortly after, I didn't really like where I was living. So I looked on Gumtree, which is maybe like eBay for other people, or Facebook Marketplace these days. And I found an ad that said, we're looking for a roommate. So I drove over to you guys. We met, knocked on the door. We had a chat, and you told me everything about what you've done for the past, at that time, I think it was 11, 12 years roughly, the research that you've done. And one of the examples that I remember was that you told me, Lise, what would happen if I were to take all of your thoughts out of your mind? And I went, well, I don't know. I don't know what would happen. And I think we talked about muscle memory and those type of things. And you taught me that no, in fact, you would fall to the ground because your thoughts are what makes you you. That is your true you, your thoughts and how you manage them.
Yeah.
So that was the first day we met. It was full on. So I went, I'm going to have to think a day or two about whether I'm going to move in. But eventually I went, yep, I think that's exactly what I've been looking for. So I moved in. And what started for me as drawing pictures to put in books of the knowledge that you'd written before then went on to, we worked together full time. And you used me as a little, cute little guinea pig. But I was a cute one. You used me as a little guinea pig. And I had the privilege to learn about life and to be I would say at the beginning, I wasn't your right hand. I was maybe your foot because your partner was there who was your right hand.
Yeah.
Your partner then had a baby.
Yeah.
And so I became your right hand. And here we are today.
Very good.
What would you add?
From my perspective, I would say that the number one thing that I wanted for somebody to move in was that they were willing to learn, that they were willing to be open to learning and open and vulnerable. And that's what gave you the first tick, because you really seemed that. And if you're going to get better, you have to be open and you have to be vulnerable to what you have to learn, because most learnings come from weaknesses that you're not aware of. So if you're not going to be vulnerable to weaknesses, you can't learn. It's really that simple. Number 2, there is no baff, no blame, no anger, and there is no fighting in this home. And if you do that, that's cool, but do it outside. Do it outside on the driveway, go to the bus terminal, the bus shelter, and or go to the beach and do it, because then it doesn't affect as many people other than yourself. That's what I remember.
Yeah.
And in tying in that, the one thing that I really want to just touch on that you raised just then was that you said the thoughts. If I was to remove them, what would happen to you? You'd fall on the ground. I just wanted to share with everybody that if you are watching this and you really, really, really want better out of life, and you're genuinely there to do that now, and as I've raised, you have to be open to learning, to being vulnerable from weaknesses. You have to find that in thoughts first. Because if you don't find that in thoughts first, there is no possible way you can learn, improve, and be better faster than what you are currently today. Because the important component is your thoughts, or your mind full of thoughts, because they determine your actions, your behavior, what you go after or don't go after, and the results that you get or don't achieve. And the ability to look at that, to find out what you need to learn, to add to your thoughts, either replace or improve on, to then start the cycle again to learn, improve, and be better with. So I just wanted to touch on that to say how important that was, that you raised that for that connection of mission, be better.
Absolutely. Let's have a quick talk about, for everyone who's listening or watching, what this week's episode is going to be all about, so that they know what the next hour and a half, maybe 2, who knows how long we're going to sit here and talk for, is going to be all about, and what they take away at the end of this. Shall we do that?
Let's do it.
Perfect. So this week, we are going to talk about something that we touched on last time, but that we've heard wishes that people would like us to go into a little bit deeper and add more context and more proof to.
Yeah.
It's all about purpose. In particular, it is something that we call the new pole, the natural ultimate purpose of life. So a purpose that every single person in this world, listening, watching, just born, old, no matter where they live in this world, no matter their age, no matter their race, no matter their social standing, every single person shares this purpose. And it is not what people necessarily think. We're then going to talk about, how can we prove that we're just 2 people sitting here? How can we prove, and how can people, importantly, I think, prove to themselves that the purpose that we're going to introduce in this episode or talk about is in fact their natural ultimate purpose. We're going to talk about why it is important, how it affects their life, and how they can take away the knowledge that we give them today to basically see life a little bit different from here on out.
Love it.
Would you add anything to that?
I just wanted to touch on how excited I've been about doing this podcast. More excited, and I get excited about lots of things. The reason being is because I really love weaknesses. I really love making mistakes. I really love finding things I don't know or being wrong with what I do know. And then going, what have I got to learn, improve, and be better? Like, I'm addicted to it. Some would say a little bit too much addicted to weaknesses because I try and improve every little thing. But I also am addicted to improving every little thing because I know that eventually those little things pile up into a lot of little things that make a very big thing. And I'd rather get to them in the beginning. So I really want people to get that push, to understand that push, and to embrace it and harness it. You know, like I say, couple it like a chain so that they can intentionally and continually get better out of anything in life.
All right, so we now know what this week's episode is going to be about. But before we jump into the deep end, let's keep it a little bit casual for just a few minutes. Let's make it a little bit easy for everyone who is listening. And let's have a quick catch up. Let's see if there is anything that we want to bring in from last week's episode or anything we want to talk about. Have you brought anything today that I have no idea about that you want to talk about?
So from last week's episode, I'd like to bring in that we've had some feedback on the improvements that we can make. I'll let you explain one of them, which is basically the catch the fish and gut the fish, which I really want people to understand how deep I've gone over a very long time and how I need to get out of that so that I can relate better. Because I've always said to you and others, can you please help me to relate more with people? Because I went down so far in the rabbit warren, or so far down what we call the iceberg to what I could see as the bottom level to understand how to help people get better faster. But then when you come out and you start presenting from that level, you're down there not catching fish. You're down there trying to work out where did everything go wrong with that fish without explaining what we're really talking about from a surface level. And that's where I go wrong, but I'll let you explain that.
I was going to say, we're speaking in riddles, I think, a little bit now.
Yes.
Let's start with that.
Let's
huge thank you. Let's say a huge thank you to the people who've reached out. Frank, Bettina, which is my mum. Thank you, mum. Jan, Jess. People have reached out and they've really taken time. They've listened to the episode or they've watched the episode and given us fantastic feedback from amazing to, oh, here is something you may want to look at to improve, or I would like to hear more about that, or here is a question I have for future episodes. So it's been really nice. And the way that the feedback has been presented has been schmick top tier. I think everyone has packed it quite nicely into something that we like to call the bun that your daughter has presented to us once. You know, the bun starts with something good. Then in the middle of the burger, you put some weaknesses that you could improve upon. And then at the end, you end with something.
The bottom bun. The top half of the bun, the bottom half of the bun. And in there is really the weaknesses because the best is really the bun.
Correct. So for anyone who needs to present weaknesses to someone else because maybe you're collaborating on something, that is what we've learned is a great way to present weaknesses.
Useful piece of useful information?
Absolutely useful information, advice you might actually use, my friends. So yes, thank you so much to those people. And what Phil was referring to, my mum said something that I've absolutely loved and I've repeated it about 4 or 5 times in the last few days. My mum said to me, I really liked it. This was the first time, and she's seen a lot of our content, this was the first time that I found that you and Phil sat down and your personalities actually came through. I didn't feel like there were teachers at the board who were trying to, just give me this advice or this knowledge, but I was watching 2 people speak. And she said it was really attractive and she really enjoyed that. But what she did say was, she said, Lise, I think you tried and you did a good job and continually, thinking about where are the people in their heads that are listening to this or that are watching this. They are not at our level. They don't think in our terms and our words. So you continually try to make sure that what you're talking about is relatable, in her experience at least. And she said, Phil is so deep in this knowledge. She said, he went straight into the deep stuff, but I hadn't really understood why I needed to learn that deep stuff that he was teaching me about just yet.
Sorry that you hadn't connected. I do apologise. I am trying to get better from those weaknesses, and thank you for sharing.
And we also have to say that's just my mum's experience.
And
There might be other experiences out there that would see it completely different, but we took that and we tried to learn from that.
Yep.
So here is where my mum, why Phil talked about fish before. Where did the fish come in? My mum said, sometimes you have to catch a fish before you gut it. And Lisa, I think you were trying to catch the fish whilst Phil was trying to gut the fish. And I thought that was just a brilliant metaphor. So in this place, thank you so much. We have listened and we are going to try our best to do exactly that. And to, when we explain knowledge that we get excited about, give you the reasons of why this knowledge might be important to you as the listener or the viewer.
Yeah, and very well explained. Thank you. It's almost like I gutted the fish again without explaining it, but I was just trying to give a prelude, but I get it. So the other thing that's I'd like to tie back to what I've said previously, you were sick for the last 7 to 10 days.
Oh, very.
We haven't been able to really catch up, and because that natural frustration was in you and you were fighting this disease, this flu, COVID, etc. It really knocked you, and I didn't want to frustrate you any further by going, well, I've been looking at this and looking at this, and this is maybe what we should do, for you to go, change right now, confusion, and then mass frustration. So peeling it back over that time and from that first podcast and with the feedback and other feedback that I've got from others, I was really able to, and I'd like to say thank you to Livy, Morgan, as you said, Jess, and a few others. I was really able to look at myself from that deep level, gutting the fish, to go and get back up the top. What are we presenting and what are we going after? And is it right for people? And for me, it's right, but it's so wrong. It was just so far. Let me give you an example. We've gone after the hardest, the biggest problem that everyone has that no one really knows about. And in explaining that, I'm not going to go too much further, but we created a book called Devil's Disease, which the name is brilliant because it really explains how bad, destructive, and unfortunate,
devastating
our lives are because of this. But people aren't ready for it. Whether it's true or not, people aren't ready for it. I'm ready for it because I want to show people, because this is what I learned under these levels. But it was wrong. So I wanted to show you how wrong I was, because where we are today with our natural ultimate purpose of life and over that 10 days of reflecting, this is right. This is what people are wanting, because they want motivation, not devastation. They want to be inspired from us, not kicked in the guts. And that's what it felt like. And that's what, with Tina, with what she's saying, she wants me to bring that to that level. And I get it. So I wanted you to know that we haven't really caught up, and that's where my mind has been. And I'm really excited about getting to that surface level. And then taking people with what I did over a 20-year period down the iceberg or down into the rabbit warrens to then get the 8 or 10 pieces or levels of information, but not based on what I think they should know from the beginning that'll give them the biggest and best and fastest learning possible, but ease them down into that so that they, when they're ready, they can choose that problem. When they're fully driven from an inspiration and a purpose perspective, which is where they're going to get a lot of that motivation today in understanding that natural ultimate purpose and inspiration from us, because we feel it, we live it every day. So that's what I wanted to share. Any questions you have of that, what I just presented?
I want to put a mental note, a mental post-it for later on something that you said. You talked about I was sick for a while, and you had to be mindful with what you presented to me whilst I was sick. And I want to put a post-it note on that. And remember for later during this episode when we talk about the proof piece of our natural ultimate purpose, because I think that we can connect something there that might be useful for everyone to learn from in their communication with other people, and understanding how other people might react and why at certain times.
Yeah. Okay, so virtual post-it note.
Virtual post-it note put in. Perfect.
Let's remember that that's there. If I forget and you forget, all right, if you could remind us, that'd be great.
Yeah, perfect.
And remind us after the fact saying, you forgot the post-it note. Thank
beautiful.
You. What about you for the last 10 days?
Well, I want to rehash something, or is rehash the right word? I don't know. Maybe it's
It's bring something up that you've...
Bring something back up. Perfect. Bring something back up that we talked about in the very first episode of this podcast. We have a segment called Ask Us Anything. And in the first episode of Mission Be Better, I actually opened this segment and I asked a question. I said, how do we deal with it when our boys, our partners, which is a very typical thing, annoy us? How do we deal with it and why do they actually do that? I was very curious about that. So I want to share what I have done with that knowledge that we talked about since the last episode and how that has panned out in the end.
Okay, so we're going to learn more about why men do this, or why your partner or my son does this.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to know more about him.
Well, you've said in the last episode, one of the pieces of advice and knowledge that you gave me is, what I would have a look at, do boys simply do that? Is that their bid for attention? Is that I would like you to spend some time with me and I'm basically trying to open a conversation here, give me attention.
Or I just broke something and I'm trying to change the point.
Yes. We're going to leave that one aside and we're just going to focus on the piece of it's a bid for attention from your partner.
Please.
And that was something that I took with me and went, okay, let's have a look at that and let's see where I can possibly do better.
Do I play with it?
And instead of being offended when he tries to annoy me, how can I listen to what he's trying to achieve?
Wow.
So that it doesn't end in an argument or a discussion.
So him playing with your hair or doing a little bit of teasing, how you can see that in a different light for what it may be, not what you may think it be, for being annoying as opposed to he really just wants something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are there times where I'm overly sensitive to it?
Yeah.
And yes, it was so interesting. I looked at him, and this sounds weird, I looked at him like a little cat. Little cats. You know how cats come over to you and they do little, like they just annoy you?
Yeah.
But what do we do with cats? Cats we cuddle and they get our love.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, let's see what happens when he does that. And whenever he did little things, and he literally does this. Goes like
a pussycat.
You know, literally like a little cat. Just for everyone who's listening to this and not watching, he might, like a cat, put his paw on me and just basically go like, give me attention. And I went, my love, what would you like? Why are you doing that right now? What's your goal here? Can I get some attention? Can you? Yeah. I was like, this is crazy. So I don't have to get frustrated about it. I acknowledge what he is trying to achieve.
Yep.
And I just say, okay, why don't you just ask for it?
Yep.
Oh, okay. And I don't get frustrated about it. I ask him what his goal here is. I acknowledge his intention. And it's, it's been quite lovely. Trying to not be frustrated about something that I didn't need to be frustrated about, being not overly sensitive. And I'm sure there are complete other instances as well. And I think he's also listened to the first podcast episode. So he is but mindful. But yeah, that has been a great learning for me to, rather than being frustrated about what the other person is doing, stopping myself and listening, why is the other person doing what they are doing? just the example that you brought in with Sunny, when Sunny is doing something, we don't get frustrated with him. We go, what would you like? Can you ask for that nicely, please?
Isn't it amazing how boys and women do this when they could really simply just ask with a who, what, how, why, when, where, how much question and share that?
Yeah.
And why don't we share that? Why are we doing this? And there's a very simple explanation for that, but that's not something for now. But it is nice to see that that improvement has come from both of you based on reflection and taking that point. Oh, I love it. I love it. And it reminds me that if I really want something, that finding the right time and asking whether I could suggest something or ask for something, and if it's not the right time now, when, for a need, a want, or a wish to be fulfilled, and having that clarification in that communication. Because if you have that, it's way better than, almost being annoying. Yeah, really nice.
So in simple terms, my little learning, and everyone who has the same challenge, is basically ask the why. Why are you doing what you're doing? And come with it from a curiosity perspective rather than a frustration perspective.
So now you've got two sides. If you're the one being annoying, this is what you should do. And if you're the one being annoyed, this is what you should do.
Maybe there are times where you don't have to be annoyed,
Yeah, it's almost a little note on that side post-it note that we have over here as to how we're going to use a proof, the system, right? How we're going to prove our natural ultimate purpose of life, and then how to use it a little bit better, as opposed to how we learn to use it because we don't understand our natural ultimate purpose in this system. Love it.
Absolutely. That's our catch up for the week.
Okay.
Are you happy with that?
Yeah, bring it on.
Perfect. All right. So we've had a little intro. We've talked about what this episode is going to be about. We had a little catch up. I think it's time to jump into the deep end.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes. I'm going to try and stay shallow. I do apologize if I go too deep. I really am trying.
I know. I know. We are going to call this segment, which is going to be a big one, which will run through almost every single podcast episode that you listen to on Mission Be Better. We're calling this Foundational Understandings. And specifically, it's foundational understandings to create the better version of yourself. As everyone listening knows by now, from the first episode, if you've listened, you've done 20 years of research. I've done 7.5. We've got so much knowledge. And what we're going to try and do is to give every person who's listening to Mission Be Better pieces of understanding that we think and know are imperative to think about, to possibly even learn and put into your life, so that you can be the better version of yourself.
Yeah.
So we're going to try and focus on specific subjects every week
Yeah.
that at the end create one whole puzzle. So it's one little puzzle piece, maybe even a piece of a puzzle piece every single week. Does that sound about right?
Yep. And the puzzle piece today?
We're going to talk about the natural ultimate purpose of life.
Big puzzle piece.
That's quite a big one. And I can imagine that there will be future episodes where we talk about this as well.
Yeah.
Because we can only go so deep. And we've talked about this today already. We don't want to gut the whole fish. Let's start with a tiny little piece.
And this is a beautiful fish.
Colourful.
This has to be one of the most colourful, most beautiful fish that there is in our lives, in our world. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Phil, one of the most asked questions in this world is, what is my purpose in life? What am I here for? Why am I on this earth, in this world? Why do I exist? Let's dive into that.
So there is many facets of what you've just said then. So I want to start off with, when I started a long time ago in understanding this, I really wanted to help people to be better. I had achieved some milestones that I wanted from a financial perspective, from a work perspective, and I think even from a personal perspective. And people were very interested in me helping them because I'd got that, you know, to a standard that they wanted to use me as a benchmark to get better from. So I went out, and now 20 years down the track, I would like to tell you that our natural ultimate purpose was all based on better, but I didn't understand it. And when I say better, I'm not saying from a learned perspective that I learned that better should be what everyone goes after. I learned that the question that everybody has about life, and one of only 3 or 4 really big questions, what is my reason for being here? What is my purpose in life? Is actually hardwired within. And that I said to you before, through this segment so far, through this episode, that motivation, once you understand where this natural ultimate purpose of life comes from, is so motivating that there is nothing more motivating. Okay.
Let's quickly talk about, you touched on a word, the hardwired within you, just in case not everyone understands that. May I give a quick definition?
Please.
Hardwired inside a person basically means that you cannot remove it. It is something that is a part of your genes, a part of your DNA, and it is a part of your physical being and your brain, and you cannot remove this part of you. No matter what you do, no matter what thoughts you learn throughout life, this part of you will stay the same. It is hardwired inside you.
Yeah. If you've ever seen any electrical equipment that has a wire, if you see a power cord, it has a wire. There is something hardwired into our brains like a wire that is pushing us for better. That we will show you is proof of this natural ultimate purpose of life that every single one of us is hardwired for. Thank you. I thought that was very, very good. Again, getting people to the surface of some of the words that I use. So with that, I just wanted to explain that I and we are going to show you that we all have a natural ultimate purpose of life that we can agree on once we all individually prove this in our lives.
We touched on that a little bit in episode number 1, right? Which is why people asked, can you please actually dive a little bit deeper into this? So we already talked about that there is a difference between a learned purpose and that natural hardwired purpose, which we said the meaning of life, the purpose is to continually be the better version of yourself. So we discussed that. But let's have a look at the comparison. Before we dive deeper into this, if we were to look online, should we quickly discuss what actually happens?
I love this. I just love it.
So this was interesting to me. In preparation for this episode, I actually had a look at the different meanings of, or the different answers that come out when you ask, what is the purpose in life? And it really depends on how you ask this question. So if you just type into Google, what is the purpose of life, and you look at the little AI overview, which really is all of the different pages combined, right? It basically says there is no single universally agreed upon purpose in life, but rather there is the essential motivating aims of your life. So the reasons you get up in the morning. And this is where the distinction becomes so beautifully clear, because we just talked about the hardwired purpose. Now here they're saying, well, there is purpose, but it really is what makes you get up in the morning, which for me seems more like the learned purposes, which we also touched on, which is, am I a nurse? Am I super passionate about helping people? Am I passionate about, the job that I do every day, or about being a mother, and that's what makes me get up? But that's something that I've learned. That's not my hardwired purpose. So that is what Google says. What was quite interesting to me, however, when you do ask AI, ChatGPT in this instance, they are actually a little bit closer to what we understand. So, and we also got to be mindful, because we also put our interpretation into what something brings back. But what was interesting to me is that when I asked ChatGPT, it did say that it's connection, so strong relationships and belonging, contribution, making a difference beyond themselves, growth, challenging themselves and becoming better over time, and autonomy, living in alignment with their values, not just what's imposed on them. So I thought I quite like that. If you were to put that in a simple statement, it's to grow, connect with other people, and have a good and happy life.
Yes. I've got a question before I go any further. What do you think ChatGPT or AI, and remember, AI is just a collection of human intelligence or human input, and then AI deciphering based on the foundation of its program what it thinks is right or wrong without having lived it. So with that, I wanted to ask you, based on what you've understood, what is it now that is different between what you've taken as a perception of understanding there and what you actually know?
One of the big things for me that it's missing is with what in life I am meant to grow. Because so far we've only given people the 2 words, to be better. But with what?
That's 3 words, but...
To be better. Damn. And I call myself doing bookkeeping.
Good communication.
Perfect. Yeah. Sorry about that. Be better. But with what are we meant to be better? So for me, it's missing the areas of life. It's missing with whom I'm meant to be better. And it's missing how I'm meant to be better. For me, that is all part of the natural ultimate purpose of life.
For me, it's missing the proof. Because remember, it's basically saying, based on your first input and then the answer, and the second input and the answer, it's not saying we can prove this. It's just basically saying this is what it is, we think. But we have the proof, the how, the areas and what are most important, on top of other things that we'll explain as we dive to a shallow level across this subject and deeper over time.
Yeah. So let's start at the beginning.
All right.
The natural ultimate purpose of life is to be better. Before we touch on that, let's talk about what is better. We've used the word, probably you see it in our actual name of this podcast, Mission Be Better. What does better actually mean? And to explain that, I think we need to talk about the 10 areas of life.
Yeah.
And we need to talk about a quick definition of the actual word.
Yeah.
Do you want to take it away?
Well, I'm going to try.
Go for it.
I can give you what I think. It's, for me, being better is making an improvement on where I was 10 seconds ago, yesterday, 10 years ago, and applying that to myself now. And then it's taking what I know now and then finding things that I need to continually improve on to be better in 10 seconds, 50 seconds, a day, a year. So it's continually taking little bit by little bit and being better with it. And all starting with my thoughts. And again, I'm going to touch on it. Thoughts and our mind full of thoughts and the way we think determines our actions, what we say, what we do, our behavior, the way with which we say and do things, and what we go after, don't go after, results, and how we improve on it. So being better is about taking all of those things and looking at the thoughts that are inspiring those actions and behaviors and what we go after, and finding where they're weak, where they're strong, and the opportunities that we have to improve on them. So that's where I'd go from that perspective.
I think the key words that I heard there, better, is improvement. It's being more effective, more efficient. It's connected to time, so doing that in a timely manner. It's, if you look at the synonyms, greater, stronger.
Yeah.
That's what I would say better is.
Yeah.
So it is continually creating a greater standard at something.
Yeah.
Now, if we look at better, better is a very wide topic.
Yes. How deep do you want to go?
Live life. I would say let's touch on the 10 areas of life because I think it is indefinitely connected to better.
Yeah, it's for me, it's like a pull, right? It's like an inspiration. where that motivation we're talking about from purpose and the proof of it, the areas that we interact with in life, which is one of those areas is that motivation and proof that we're talking about. But that rest of that world is like the pull that's saying, come and have me, showing all the opportunities and choices. So I like that.
All right. We'll talk about the internal later so that we don't get confusing. The 10 areas of life. Phil, no one really, if you ask them what are the 10 areas of life, actually knows what are the 10 areas of life. And the reason that we're going to discuss this here, it might seem superficial to talk about it. But if you don't know what your life is made up of and what you're meant to be better with, how are you going to be better? Because you then do not have the ability to prioritize your life. So Phil, what are the 10 areas of life that when we talk about the natural ultimate purpose being continually better, what are we meant to be better with?
I love what you said there. I'm going to preface it with, I've talked to a massive 10,000 people in discussing this to understand what we understand today and to give me the ability to take that research and then share it with others. And one of the questions that I've asked people who say to me they understand life is, so what are the important areas of life? And never has anyone got more than 2 or 3 of the 10. So then I go, okay, cool, thank you. Tell me what they are, and they're very repetitive, right? So let's answer your question. What are the 10 areas of life? So I'm going to start from a child's perspective and then what they evolve into understanding and or interacting with. The first, they're born into a physical being. The physical being creates a mind. That's the second area. The third is the physical being gives the mind and you, who you truly are, access to what we call the manager of that mind or the manager of the thoughts in that mind. So you've got the physical being, a mind full of thoughts, and then the management of those thoughts.
The thoughts manager.
The thoughts manager. Then you've got relationships. And what's important here is that you have relationships within, so the family you're born into, the friends, the partners, the people that you connect with, and the family that you create being what makes up the relationships as a whole. Then you've got those relationships and that whole who you truly are and what you are inside your home, your school, or your education and how you do that, whether that be through a computer going to university or within your workplace and your social life. And then the 9th area is the area of, say, religion, law and government.
Governing bodies.
Yep. And then you've got the 10th area, which is the world and nature and the universe. So those are the 10 areas that are very, very important to understand that you are going to, or any person is going to interact with in life to get better out of life. And all of these things are already set out for every person that's born that are pulling you, right, that are inspiring you to be better. And if you then go and have a look at everybody from a physical and a mental perspective, from a relationship perspective, from those 4 areas that you're doing it in, your home, your school, your social, your work, and then how it's governed, the governing bodies, etc., and then the world, there is so much better that we can have. It's pulling us to it. So much opportunity and choice, no matter where you are and no matter where you live. So from an inspiration and a motivation perspective, I find that very inspiring, those areas of life, to show us what we are here to fulfill our ultimate purpose of life with. Has that explained?
That gives me a great overview of the 10 areas of life. Now, if I were the listener, I'll go, well, that's still that's 10 areas. What am I meant to be better with? Do you want to talk about what, in our understanding, to send people on the right path when they're thinking about better? What would we say people should be focusing on being better with in the first instance, if we talk about prioritization of those areas?
So I'm going to tell you that over the 20 years that I've been doing this, I focused on the mind and in and out on the physical being. So, and the other third part would be the management of that mind. So it's the physical and the mental being is the most important for me. But then if you ask me, and I've asked many people this question, if you ask me what is important over and above that, that is almost 50-50 has to be the driver or the push for is the relationships within the fifth area, your home first, and then in your workplace. Mm-hmm. They're the most important things to get right.
Mm-hmm. And let me give a quick understanding of why. And I think everyone can relate to this. Let's forget about the external areas of us. So our home, our school, our workplace, the world, the governing bodies. There is something that we take into all of these areas. It is our physical being. It is our mind, which is Phil already touched on, is our thoughts, and our thoughts manager. So the intentional part of us managing those thoughts. And then in those areas, no matter where I go, there are relationships.
Yeah.
So there are people, which is why those first 4 areas are the most important areas, because those are an absolute constant. No matter where we go, we will find those 4 areas. There will be people apart from us. There will be our physical being, our mind, and our thoughts manager. And that's why if you focus on those 4 pieces, your mental and physical improvement and your communication within relationships, you will be able to take the greatest standard into the other 6 external areas of your life.
I would agree. I'd just add one other thing. Starting with the communication with your thoughts. You thinking about what you're thinking about, how you're thinking about them, and taking that communication into your relationships. Mm-hmm. Love it. Can I ask you something?
Sure.
All right. Tell me, what is our new pole, Lise?
Our natural ultimate purpose of life. And I haven't looked at the document in a while. Probably should have. Phil actually did for this episode. Our natural ultimate purpose of life is to continually be the better version of ourselves within the 10 areas, subjects and tasks of life.
Yeah.
So every area has subjects and tasks within them. To be better within all the areas, subjects and tasks of life. To do this continually and to do this with other people.
Yeah.
To then teach other people and learn from them in return. And that's roughly all I got.
Very good. That's all you got? That's pretty close to 80%.
There is some details missing in there.
Yeah, so I was recently asked this and somebody said, can you tell me what is the natural ultimate purpose of life? And I said, do you want the short, the medium, or the long version? Because I can tell you all of them. But let's just go a short version. Yep. So what is my natural ultimate purpose of life? Well, it's to push my mental and physical ability to my mental and physical capability with all the important areas, subjects and tasks of life over the whole of my life, at each and every stage of my life, to continually and intentionally get better out of life. And then to share that with others, to show them how they can do this better and faster, whilst you're learning from others how to do this better and faster. And then collectively and individually getting better physically and mentally till the end of our lives. And whilst doing that, achieving the highest standard of what you would call fulfillment, cliche word, but it really is an amazing word, of fulfillment, of calmness, of peace of mind, and a curious, excited, and happy disposition or state of being to go and experience more of life, to start again and push your mental and physical ability to your mental and physical capability. So,
beautiful.
Is that all right?
That's so cool. I haven't heard a couple of those words in a long time. We've worked on that a long time ago. And in between, we've worked on other things. And it's also interesting to see we've shortened things now. For example, I said continually be better, right? But you used the little bit of a more medium version. It was really nice hearing to continually push your mental and physical ability towards your capability. Yes, I love it.
And thank you for allowing me or indulging me that before we move on to more of the proof. Because as I said, what I've really learned from the first podcast and the feedback is to really get myself, and it will take time, but please bear with me, to get to that surface level, to be able to explain those things before I go too deep. So thank you, because that's what I've really reflected on over the last 7 to 10 days.
I would even say for anyone who's listening or watching, maybe even go back a minute and just listen to that again.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of little pieces in there that we're not going to touch on in here. We're just going to make it about the proof, how we can show you how this is your natural ultimate purpose today. And in simple, it's be better. But if you want to know a little bit more, genuinely go back 2 minutes, listen to the version that Phil just gave you, and you will see how many detailed pieces are actually in there.
Thank you.
No worries.
All right, so let's go to the proof. Now this you've been working on for 2 years now.
3.
And I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, proof. What is proof? How do you prove this? How did you prove this to yourself? And how can people prove this to themselves? Like, what is the motivator of this natural ultimate purpose of life, Lise?
Well, to give you straight to the answer, it is a system that is hardwired inside every single person. We call this, the physical being's natural communication, fulfillment, and learning system. This system proves that our purpose, in fact, is to continually be better in life.
You just gave us the long version. This we call our natural communication system, or our NCS. But to just touch on the natural communication, fulfillment, and learning system. In actual fact, it's longer than that. It's the physical being's natural communication, fulfillment, and learning system. Yep. Physical being. So let's break down each of the pieces to give people a quick meaning of that.
Yep, absolutely.
Physical being, what do you mean?
Physical being is made up of your limbs, your system inside of your body, your organs, and your brain.
Cells.
So this system that we talk about is hardwired inside that physical being. It is a part of it. It is a part of the physical being, just like your fingers are, just like your brain is, just like your senses are. This system is a part of it, just like everything else. You just haven't been taught about it because it is not visible.
That excites me every time I hear this.
Yeah.
Natural.
Natural. It is natural. No one planted it there. It is a part of your DNA and genes. It is nothing where someone took a syringe and planted a chip inside of you, and that's why it's there. It is natural, again, just like your senses, just like your skin, just like the other organs in your body.
All right. Communication. So this system is hardwired in us. It's natural, and it's communicating.
Yep.
What do we mean?
This system's primary job and function is to communicate. Now you may ask, who's the system communicating to? Well, this system has actually been communicating to you since before you were born. When you were still a tiny little baby in your mum's womb, this system started communicating to you, sending you signals so that you would do something. And when you were born, the system started communicating to you and primarily to your carers to make sure that you could survive. So it's using its own natural inbuilt language, which we will touch on what that is.
And it's creating something amazing, and we'll touch on that soon. Fulfillment.
Yes.
What is fulfillment? What? It's communicating, and it is asking for us to do something, pushing us, motivating us to do something.
So this system is communicating things that need fulfillment, so weaknesses. So if we look at a baby, when a baby is born, comes out of the womb, there are tons of weaknesses that this baby has. This baby will be hungry. This baby might be cold. This baby might need sleep. So there are all these physical weaknesses in the beginning of its life that need fulfillment. And if they are not fulfilled, the baby will not survive.
Yeah.
So this natural system communicates to people around it that there are weaknesses that require fulfillment.
Very good. And you touched on the physical fulfillment. There's also a mental fulfillment.
Yep. Which will usually not start right when the baby is born, because there is no mental ability in the baby at the point that it's born. It's just another organism. It's just a live baby, but there is no mental ability at that point
But
in
that
that baby.
Yes, but that kicks in
Very
if you
quickly.
take into consideration the next part.
Which is learning.
Learning.
That's right. So every time this natural system communicates to the carers, to the people around, and says, hello, excuse me, I've got a wet nappy, excuse me, I'm hungry, could you please give this little physical being something? And that weakness is fulfilled, something incredible happens. This physical being's natural communication, fulfillment, and learning system learns and stores a thought.
Or parts of them.
Or parts of a thought. And this is where we talk about the second area of life, which is the mind. Because the system, its ability to communicate, to ask for fulfillment, then using the component or the area of relationships to fulfill that weakness, this system then learns and stores a thought, which is the beginning of the mind.
And touching on that, up until the stage that others are fulfilling this, you then eventually using this system without even realize it, trying to learn to be independent with all of those physical and mental needs, wants and wishes, to then live your own free life.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not without other fulfillers who you start life with, that is in combination with as many fulfillers as you can fit into your life, that are all driven to help you to do the same thing and for them to do the same thing. That's a system. What do you mean there's a system?
Well, a system is a string of different processes or of different steps.
Yeah.
So this system, we find, has 5 steps attached to it. You could argue that it's 4, but let's go with 5 and we'll break them down. Or 6, apparently.
If you're born into expectations, the world. So that's the feedback in, and we've talked about that. But let's go with the 5.
Let's say there are 5 components at this point.
Yes.
And they happen in, is succinction the right word? Something that happens one after the other?
Yes.
So it is basically a cycle of different steps.
Yeah.
That this
The meaning's
system
better
is
than the
taking.
word. Yes. Succinction. Yes.
And this happens in succession. And this happens in a cycle process.
Yes.
And it runs continually all the time.
Are we going to show them that in this system, in this podcast? Podcasts, they can only get the visual, but we've got the video version. Are we going to put a picture of that in there?
We can put something in, sure, if you'd like to.
Sorry, I'm not very good at this. I don't understand the vlog, the blog, the podcast,
all the different mediums.
Goodness me, I do apologise, but I'm trying to learn.
So, shall we talk about the 5 components?
Yes, sorry, thank you.
Do you want to introduce them?
Well, look, it's really, really simple. The first is that you have weaknesses evident in this system, with which that's the first part, weaknesses. The second part is our first natural emotions or language that alarm us that there's a weakness is the second. The third is...
So that's the communication.
Yes. So it's the communication to us and to others that something is required, whether that be a need from a physical perspective early or from a mental perspective as we independently or individually start to take over the understanding of what happens in the third stage, which is that once something is fulfilled, we become calm, peace of mind, and some learning happens where we start to learn from our weaknesses and that first language, communicating the requirement of the fulfillment of that weakness. And then from that, we go into the most beautiful second phase of emotions, which is a curious excitement and happiness to experience more of life and then go back to the weaknesses. Now, that would be the fourth is the fulfillment, the calm, and the fifth would be the curious excitement and happiness. And the third is the fulfiller, whether that be somebody externally of you as you grow in life from a baby to a toddler until you start to take over that yourself. So in short, you've got component number one, weaknesses. Component number two, your first alarm for those weaknesses, the communication to you or others that a weakness is present, that we need it fulfilled. Third is the fulfiller. Fourth is the being fulfilled and then getting to a calm, at peace, and a naturally learning state to then go and experience life in a curious, excited and happy state, to find more weaknesses from a physical and mental perspective, to do it again and again and again.
All whilst building an incredible mind full of thoughts.
So that's what we touched on before. This system, Lee, so you're saying this system created our mind full of thoughts. But wasn't it me that created that mind full of thoughts first?
When you say me, which part do you mean? Do you mean what you are, which is your physical being? Do you mean who you are, which is your mind? Or do you mean the second part of who you truly are, which is your thoughts manager?
All right, take us through it. All right, that's deep. All right, I'm going to bring us back to the surface. Thanks, Mum. Let's go.
When you say, didn't I create my mind full of thoughts? Well, as we discussed before, when you were a baby and you came out of lovely Judith,
yes,
you didn't have any thoughts. There was no mind. So there was no mental fill that existed. There was only a physical being. So you, if you say you, me, Phil, the person, couldn't have actually created your mind, at least not as a baby. So when you're a baby, this system is the sole reason that you were given the ability to have a mind. And then eventually thoughts manager, which is a more intentional part of you. But so no, you feel the person didn't create the mind. You learned to add to it because eventually you learned language, you learned words, you then went out exploring. So you had the ability to learn about something that you wanted to learn about. But at the base of that has always been and will always be your natural communication system, which is pushing that from the inside. It is asking you to learn. It is telling you store more things in your mind. And if you're not doing it, the physical being's natural communication, fulfillment, and learning system is going to do it automatically for you, whether you want to or not.
So whether I'm intentionally learning how to be better, my physical being's natural communication system, for short, is trying to do that for itself.
It is going to do it, yes.
In partnership with me.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting, because every time I discuss this, every time I explore it further based on what we've uncovered, I just get more excited and I just have more questions that, I go into the research in my head and the paperwork I know is everywhere, and it just excites me more. So this system, you're saying, created our mind full of thoughts and gave us access to this system and its hardwiring for us to have the ability to then manage our thoughts, to intentionally and continually teach ourselves better on top of what the physical being was learning and storing itself.
Yes, 100%. So in very simple terms, this system automatically learns for us and automatically makes us better. It then gave us the ability to intentionally make ourselves better, to see how the system works and basically copy it and do the same thing for ourselves.
Is it hardwired in us forever?
Yes.
So it's not only learning for us for the whole of our life, it's actually saying, please help me with this.
Yes.
So why then would the physical being give itself a mind full of thoughts without us in the first instance, and then give us the ability to intentionally take over that role and work with the physical being system. Why would it do that?
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be for worse, would it?
No.
Then we wouldn't have been able to intentionally manage the thoughts that are in there. We are one of the most incredible, privileged, and lucky species out there in this world, or out here in this world. We have the ability, as the only animal, to intentionally look at the thoughts that our physical being stores for us, manage them, change them, improve upon them, and then add to them. No other animal has that ability.
So I just want to touch on that, just in case people come to us and say, well, yes, animals can do that. Apes can do that. You know, other animals, yes, they can, but not to the degree that we can, not to the ability that we can. The ability, and I just want to touch on a little bit of a depth, all right? To the depth where we can learn after the fact. So after mistakes, after things go wrong, to learning during the process of interacting and seeing things going wrong and going, I'm sorry, Lisa, I stuffed that up. To a stage where I can then go to a learning before the fact, from the after and during to before, so that I make sure that I interact, being careful of what I might say that may affect you, to not put you into an uncomfortable situation or have you doubt yourself, and making sure that I'm always continually improving on that.
May I put that into an example so
please.
that people can understand? All right, so let's roll with an example that we've talked about. Episode 1 and even today, my boyfriend annoys me. Let's take that one, right? I'm grown up, I'm not a baby, but the system is still running inside me. And if I'm intentionally trying to be better, there is 3 times in which I can do it. If I am learning to my capability and using my intentionality to my capability. Usually we all learn after the fact, as you said, after something happens. So my boyfriend annoys me, I get frustrated with him, and after the fact I go, okay, maybe he was doing that because he was asking me for something. So now something happened, and after that, maybe the next day, once my emotions settled down, I go, okay, I can learn something from that. That's number 1. Number 2, I learn before the fact. And after the fact is usually before the fact. So still in the same time. I remember last week my boyfriend bothered me. He annoyed me for something. And now I remind myself, okay, I'm going to see him today. So if he's going to do that, then I got to remind myself that he's doing that because he is actually asking for attention. So I'm now learning before the fact. I'm preparing myself that something could go wrong, and what is it that I need to implement. And then we go to during the fact, which is the hardest of them all. Because during the fact, it means I have to watch the person that I'm interacting with. I have to watch myself, and I have to watch my thoughts and change my thoughts in the moment. But if my boyfriend were to do something with me and I get triggered and I get emotional, I then have the mental, intentional ability to go, oh, Lisa, you're feeling slightly frustrated right now. Take a deep breath. Okay, whilst you're taking that deep breath, ask yourself, why might he be doing that? Now, you don't want to say what you're about to say with frustration. You want to say what you're about to say with curiosity, excitement, and happiness. Can you change that? Yes, Lisa, I can. Okay, there you go. Here, you do it better now. So that, to put exactly what you said, just with an example. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I haven't come up with one yet, but I'm going to come up with an example on the fly. All right. Sunny, my 3.5-year-old, and for dads, okay, I have learned that if I ever present frustration with him or to him from making this mistake and learning after the fact, he gets upset. So what I do is that when I'm interacting with him, if I feel any frustration coming in, I'm one pulling myself up going, hang on a second, I'm not going to teach him with this what I want him to learn. I'm going to teach him that he should be fearful of me. So what I do is I change to that curious excitement and happiness during the fact so that I can inspire him Partner him, not separate our partnership for him to learn something, improve and be better with something during the fact. And then whilst doing that, I'm then cementing in my head before the fact, all right, I'm coming home today, and if there's things that I need to teach him, I'm going to do that with a curious, excited and happy state of being. Making him curious, excited and happy about what he is learning and not fearful of me, but in partnership with me, being excited and happy to do so. Yes? So that's what I heard you say. Hopefully that's an example from a boyfriend perspective or a husband's perspective. Sorry, Jess. Sorry, Lisa. And then from a parenting perspective that I really like as an example of how we have an ability or a capability that no other animal has.
And we wouldn't have it if it wasn't for the beautiful natural communication system hardwired inside of us.
It's a really amazing ability, that self-reflecting in the after the fact, for during the fact and before the fact, isn't it? Something I really want people to concentrate on, because it is one of the greatest mental skills that human beings have when done correctly. Did we just take a sticker off the wall there, or is this the time for that sticker?
I don't even remember my sticker. I should have written that down.
If we don't remember the rest of the way through, that's right. We'll bring it and make it for the next episode. There's the proof, all right, that the NCS. But to be honest, the NCS is there existing and pushing us for better. But if I may, I just want to touch on just a little bit further. And I know sometimes you ask me, Phil, why do you ask the same question 3 times? And this is I'm going to ask for the second time. Lise, our physical being gave itself a mind full of thoughts and a thoughts manager.
Yes.
And we touched on it, and I said, why? And people aren't going to really understand that mindful of thoughts and the thoughts manager's perspective. But really, it's just the ability to be able to interact with the world and then intentionally manage the state of our thoughts, our behaviours, our actions and our behaviours that come from our thoughts to improve on them so that we get better at life. That's what we've said. But is there more proof than just why a physical being created a mind full of thoughts and gave us the ability to manage those thoughts? That proves it.
For me, the only thing that comes to mind, you might have something completely different that you're thinking about, is the question that you asked, why would your physical being give you the ability to not just store thoughts, because that in itself is incredible that we have the ability to store thoughts, but why then would it go a step further and give you the ability, which is a physical ability, turned into a mental ability, to then access those thoughts, change those thoughts, and as you said, intentionally manage your thoughts, actions, and behaviors on how you interact with the outside world. Really think about that. Why would your physical being do that? It would not be for worse. It is only for better. Your physical being gave you access to those things and basically copied its own natural system and gave it to you for mental use so that you can continually be better and fulfill its natural purpose of being the better version of yourself, or as you said, to continually push your physical and mental ability towards your physical and mental capability.
Love it. So I want to add the second part of the proof that I think anybody can take away and have a look at. When you first met me, I got you thinking by saying, if I took away your thoughts right now and your ability to manage those thoughts, because you need thoughts to be able to manage thoughts, what would happen to you? And you went, I don't know. And I said, fall to the ground. Do you believe that now? With everything you now understand, do you believe that would happen?
100%.
Good. Would you still have a natural physical being's natural communication, fulfillment and learning system hardwired in you?
Yes.
Oh. So you'd go back to being a baby in that adult body, with which then, Livy, my partner, would have to look after you from a physical needs perspective. I'd look after some, she'd look after the rest, right? And would you start to learn again from scratch?
Absolutely, I would. Because that system, again, is hardwired inside me. No one can take that away. So unless my brain is damaged for some reason, but let's take that away. It's just my thoughts.
I catched your head as it fell, so it didn't hit the ground.
So it's just my thoughts that are gone. That means that system will do exactly what it did for me when I was a baby and I came out of my mum's womb. It's just that now I'm a baby in an adult's body and I'm just a little bit bigger and harder to take care of. But I will use sadness, frustration, and crying when my physical being, not me as a mental person, but when my physical being senses a weakness and says, this body is pretty hungry, could you please feed it? Probably going to have to do that with a bottle because I wouldn't know how to actually chew.
Yeah.
So you'd have to give me a bottle and feed me quite a lot of times during the day. And
so you wouldn't know how to chew?
I wouldn't.
So wow, so you learned how to chew. You learned how to sit up, to go onto your front, to crawl. And you'd still be able to do that.
Yeah.
Keep going, please.
So that is what you'd have to do. You'd have to do the exact same thing as you did with your 3 kids. You'd have to teach me everything from the beginning. And my physical being's natural communication system would do what it has to do. It would learn parts of thoughts from the fulfillment that you do with the weaknesses. And eventually I'd be able to be more independent bit by bit by bit.
So not only have we got proof by taking your thoughts out of your head that you would go back to being a baby and learn, we have proof if we look at it from the parent's perspective without them even realising. Parents are working with this system that's hardwired in this baby or you to teach you the best things to learn, to continually and intentionally get better out of life.
And we can even look at it from the different side to basically show you the opposite, which would be proof as well. If that would have happened to me and you would have taken my thoughts out and then you would have just left me and just looked after sporadic weaknesses, maybe once a day. You wouldn't do much with me, you wouldn't interact with me, you wouldn't fulfill most of the weaknesses that I'm trying to communicate to you through sadness, frustration, and crying, then there would be very little that my physical being's natural communication, fulfillment, and learning system could actually store in the mind because you're not giving me anything that I can store in the mind. I learned through the fulfillment of my weaknesses, and if you as my carer in that instance aren't fulfilling my weaknesses, I'm not actually able to store them in my thoughts or in my mind. Thus, I'm not going to be able to become an independent human being, which is the goal of my physical being.
So me as a parent either enables you or disables you and or a mixture of both.
And now let's take that into adulthood. I, as a fully functioning adult with a mind and a thoughts manager, am either enabling me, I'm either working with this natural system, listening to the weaknesses, listening to the communication that it's doing, listening to that sadness, frustration, crying, which is my natural first language, saying, oh, there is something there. There is sadness. What is it? What's the weakness? Better go and fulfill that one.
Working with people like me as fulfillers to help you to do that better.
Correct. So I either enable that, use it to learn, to store more in my mind, to correct the things that are in my mind, or I disable it. I ignore my frustration, I shut it down, or I use it as a weapon, but I don't look at weaknesses, I don't fulfill them, I don't search for them, and thus I can't learn intentionally more thoughts.
So weaknesses still exist if we've disabled it as parents. Sadness and frustration and crying is not used as an alarm or our first language to then replace with better language, but to get stuck in. We fulfill to a certain degree. We have a certain peace of mind. So I'm content.
Numbness.
Yeah. I am anxious, stressed, worried, depressed in and out. And I actually don't tap into that curious, excited, and happy to experience more because I'm stuck in living in the world of frustration and going to anger and disapproval and disappointment, or what we call grumble.
Correct. And now I found my missing post-it note.
Oh, good girl. Yay.
This is exactly what happens when there is weaknesses. Your physical being, no matter your age, whether you're a baby, whether you're 10, 15, 30, 60, 90, whenever there is a weakness, physical or mental, your physical being's natural communication, fulfillment, and learning system will automatically use its very first language that was ever installed in the mind, which is sadness, frustration, and crying. Now, from a mental perspective, if you understand the system and the importance of thoughts, you can learn to manage that. You can learn to intentionally use curiosity, excitement, and happiness rather than sadness, frustration, and crying. But when it comes to physical weaknesses, that can be lack of sleep, that can be lack of exercise, that can be pain, and it can be sickness like Lisa had over the last week, laying in bed with fever and COVID. Your physical being will use the language of sadness, frustration, and crying. And sometimes we can manage it better, sometimes we can manage it less good. And what I was thinking about earlier is this is a piece for everyone to understand, that if someone is in a natural frustration, because there is a weakness and the physical being in the mind is desperately trying to communicate that there is something you need to take care of and fulfill, this alarm will not go off until it has been fulfilled. So when Lisa is sick, and even though Lisa has the ability to manage her thoughts quite well, if my alarm is going off because my body is saying, I really need help from you here and I can't give you the energy to also manage your thoughts right now, you need to take care of this body, it might not be the right time to give me in-depth thoughts to think about, to present change or challenges or additional weaknesses to me, because I will look at them with sadness, frustration, and even crying, because I don't have the intentional energy to look at them with curiosity, excitement, and happiness. So this is something, whether you're a parent, whether you're a partner, whether you're a daughter or a son of parents that you communicate with, this is something I would take into any communication. If you notice that the other person is emotional, do not add to that alarm, because most likely it is their natural communication system trying to alarm them of something that they need to take care of.
So I did good. In actual fact, I did what I was naturally purposed to do, to be better. When you were sick, I intentionally and continually checked where you were to make sure that I didn't add unnecessary confusion with what I was working on or what we need to do in the future when you were in that state of natural frustration. That's the power of this natural communication system. That is the power of the thoughts manager being able to learn from past, present, and future, to know where someone naturally is within this system and use this system to keep a better approach, a better curious excitement and happiness about how somebody is feeling, and managing where you put somebody by giving them information that may be confusing them and making it even longer for them to get better and harder to work on this stuff, rather than waiting till the right time to then introduce something that will be seen way clearer, that will be seen as something, oh my goodness, you've really thought through this. Can I have a look at some reasoning? But I now have the power to reason, to get better individually and together. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's more proof of how we use that system, not only with each other, but with our family and friends. And that comes from a deep understanding of our purpose, which is to continually and intentionally push our mental and physical ability to our capability with everyone and everything in life over the whole of our life, and using this system as a blueprint to be able to do that.
What came to mind for me is, ladies and gentlemen, when ladies are menstruating, when they're ovulating, the same thing is happening. Your physical being requires all the power that it can get. So it is stuck in sadness, frustration, and crying for quite a period because it is actually communicating that there is a weakness that it is trying to take care of. So the mental abilities are just not there like they would be at other times. So the same thing applies. So take this in as well. If you are a female and you're experiencing it, be patient with yourself because your system is working very, very hard and it is communicating to you that maybe you just shouldn't think as deeply right now.
Chill,
because it doesn't have the ability.
I agree. And for men, if you really want to find an amazing partner and connect with them, and you understand now that during ovulation and menstruation, and over a week of a 3 to 4 week cycle, that they are going to be naturally frustrated. And you then getting frustrated with their natural frustration or with their inability to be able to connect the dots as fast as they can outside of those cycles, then you are only creating destruction for your relationship, destruction in your communication, in what you're trying to do, which is get better out of that relationship. So please take into consideration that every time your partner is in that stage, be curious, excited, and happy about what you can do to help them from a natural perspective, be more curious, excited, and happy as they can be whilst going through a tough time.
I agree. Now, if I was to be the listener, I would go, okay, so I've now learned that, my natural ultimate purpose is, and everyone's purpose is to be better. Again, I want to touch on the words. It's to push my mental and physical ability towards my mental and physical capability. So in simple terms, to be as good as I can be over the whole of my life. All right. So now I've also learned that I've got a system hardwired inside of me that is actually the blueprint on how to do that for me. That is continually doing that. And it's given me the ability to do the same thing, but intentionally. So guys, why, if I'm listening to this podcast, do I feel like I have not been able to reach my capability and I'm not fulfilling the purpose of continually being better? Let's not go too deep into that, but should we touch on it?
So first of all, if you don't know what your natural ultimate purpose of life is, you won't try and fulfill it or understand it to fulfill it. Second of all, if you, and it is one of the most searched questions in life, what is my purpose? And if you get given answers that, no one really agrees upon, then what you do is you try and find something you relate to and go and work with it, only to eventually end up in a state where you're continually looking and even give up on it. Second of all, if you don't understand what your purpose is, or that you have a hardwired natural communication system that basically created you, the true who you are, your thoughts and the ability to manage those thoughts, then you don't know what is actually driving you and what you're supposed to hook into as those links, that push that's coming from this system, that pull that's coming from outside of you, from the areas of life. And you, the ability to manage those thoughts and all those things and interacting with those things, hooking those two things, you stop, start. Why does everyone have a purpose in New Year or throughout life and give up on it? Why do they not continually succeed and get better and better and better? Because they don't have that purpose. They don't understand the natural communication system. And then what happens if you don't understand that, as we have now proven and can now prove? If you don't understand the system and your purpose, you're going to go wrong with the system.
Which is the big crack in this whole thing.
What we call every human's biggest problem, or your biggest unknown problem, because it certainly was ours and took a very long time for us to really understand this to a depth where people could understand it simply. Lise?
Yeah. My thoughts are going in the direction, look, in very simple terms, we're misusing we're mismanaging, we're misusing, and we're even abusing this natural communication system. Don't get us wrong, the system is hardwired. It is still going to do what it's going to do. But if we don't know how to manage it, we're going to end up using it very, very badly, and we're creating bad things. My thought is, and correct me if you think I'm wrong here, should we make another podcast episode out of that? Because I think there is so much there that we can go in depth with.
Yeah.
That I know people are interested in learning about because they've said so. And I think there's been so much in this one. I don't want to overstep the already big wall of things that maybe they've taken away from this one. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that is an amazing, awesome, great idea.
Yeah, we should give people some time to actually digest what we have presented.
Thank you.
So I want to go to, guys, you were born to be better. This is your natural purpose. You have a system inside of you that is pushing you for better every second of every day. And it has done so from the moment you were created, and it is going to do that till the moment you die.
All right. What's next?
What's next? Have we got anything else that you want to touch on before we end this up for people to go and enjoy their day?
Well, first of all, I just wanted to say I'm really happy that we did that, and I think your presentation has been awesome. I love it.
Why awesome? And
because awesome, ditto. Like, that's just so good, mate. It was natural. It was very well in touch with our purpose and our natural communication system. And so I wanted to touch on that first, especially because you've just come out of being sick, and connecting those dots where we haven't had really chance to go through what we're going to talk about. I think you've done really, really well. So that's what I'd like to say. If you've come this far and you've listened to this or watched this, I'd like to say thank you. Because in the first instance, this can be a little bit daunting, a little bit intimidating, even from a positive perspective, because we haven't known this. But what we want you to really understand, and this is what I've had to learn, is that this is a nice shallow level to start to get better out of life, because you are hardwired to do so. It is your natural ultimate purpose of life. And whatever we can do to help you to do that, that's what we're here for. I'd also like to say thank you again to the people that have helped us, and say thank you in advance to those that connect with us to help us further and further. We are not scared of feedback and weaknesses and or problems that people see that we could be better with. We are using this system and copying it to be curious, excited, and happy about what we can do that will be better. And with that, we're working with this system to learn, improve, and be better faster than we ever have before, and in line with our capability. And you can do the same if you really tap into your natural ultimate purpose of life, of pushing your mental and physical ability to your mental and physical capability with everyone and everything important in life, keeping it short.
Mm-hmm. I want to close it off by saying, remember, if you've got any questions, we've got a segment called Ask Us Anything. So, for example, you've had a challenge at work and you need help on how to deal with it. How can you communicate to other people about it? You have been feeling emotional because of a certain weakness. How can you manage yourself through that? You've had challenges with your kids or your toddlers. How do you teach them something specific? Please ask us those questions. We would love to take the research that we've done. We would love to show you our own weaknesses and explain to you where we've gone wrong and where we would stay away from, and give you a little bit of advice that you may actually want to use. So please do that. Reach out to us either via email or just wherever you are listening or watching this. Just write in the comment section if you can. And we're looking forward to hear from you.
See you soon. Thank you.